Alright, here we go. If anybody is here already, please drop me a note how the sound level is. If I'm too loud or too quiet, let me know. I can try to adjust it. But we will... Oh, I can hear myself. That's not good. Let's fix that right away. Okay. Let me also figure out where that was coming from, because it probably shouldn't be playing. One more. Okay, here we go. We don't need this open. Let's get started. Let me actually get this preview back. How's it going, Dexter? Good morning. My chat's gone. Okay, let's do it this way. All right. Let's start with the camera. Okay, so let's get going. Introduction. Hello, everybody. My name is Tim. I go by Foamy Guy online, like GitHub and Discord in most places. In this stream, we're going to be working on CircuitPython. CircuitPython specifically, we're going to be taking a look at the game development that we started a couple weeks back with tiled map editor, the game software. So we're going to dive back into that. If you are brand new to this, if you've never watched any of these streams before, if you don't know anything about CircuitPython, it's a version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers. So the one that's on the screen here is a PyGamer. It is inside of like a 3D printed case here. So I have the page pulled up. This is the device that's inside there. This device is cool because it's made like a little handheld game system. So it has a D-pad joystick thing over here on the left. It has A and B buttons on the right, start and select buttons on the bottom, and it has a bunch of NeoPixels underneath the screen there. And of course it has a little screen to play on. And there's other stuff on the back like stemma connectors and speaker hookups and an SD card and some different stuff that all is pretty useful if you want to make little video games. So this is a cool device. This is a device we're going to be working on today. Again, CircuitPython runs on devices like this, and it's really nice because you don't need a lot of experience using it. You don't need any complex tools really. You can kind of just open up a file on a thumb drive basically and just save it whenever you're ready, and then it will automatically run your code. So it's really good for folks who don't have very much experience and don't want to mess with complex tools that microcontrollers typically kind of take. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. If you want to support CircuitPython, the project, one of the ways you can do that is by going to Adafruit.com and purchasing hardware. That's the website I'm on here. So this is the PyGamer again, but Adafruit sells all kinds of different hardware. That PyGamer is a device they created and they sell on their website, but they also have all kinds of other devices and all kinds of sensors and breakouts and gadgets and everything you could ever want to play with electronics, really. So they provide the financial backing for CircuitPython primarily. They pay a couple of folks full time to work on CircuitPython and to foster the community and different stuff. So if you want to support CircuitPython, you can do that by going to their website and purchasing hardware from them. I do work for Adafruit. I write guides for them. I write software for them sometimes, but the stream is not a paid endeavor. This is just me streaming for fun. Let me get the camera actually pulled up to the big one here. Okay. So, I think that's it for the introduction. Good morning, Jose. How are you? Let's get going. So like I said, I'm going to be working with the tiled game map editor. I started on this a couple weeks back, played with it a little bit. We got it rendering the map, which was really nice. We found a bug in Blinka Display.io. That got fixed. I don't remember. I don't think I fixed that on the stream or not, but it got fixed. So we could go back to running this on the PC if we wanted. But I'm actually going to probably play with the PyPortal a fair bit more today. And one of the things that I want to do is get some character movement. So if I switch back to the camera, we have Basically, the place where we left off last time is we had the map rendering. So it's rendered all of the walls, it's rendered the floor tiles, and it even has the entities like Adabot and Ohm on top of it there. And this is inside of this map here. So, it matches everything that's here. The one thing that's not there in the map, of course, though, is Blinka, because Blinka herself is actually the character. So I'm going to jump over to the code real quick and I'll show you where that's coming from, and that will lead into the other thing I want to talk about today, which is kind of how I am going to work on this. But real quick, we have the sprite right here, which is getting built from the Blinka icon, and then it's getting placed into the map. So it's not a part of the actual map file. We're just writing it in there with Python code, and that's why we see Blinka here on the screen, but we don't see her here in the map, because it's just getting put in with Python code. So before I dive in all the way on the tiled map game stuff, let me talk kind of meta process a little bit. So usually on the streams in the past, when I work on a device, I've been using the Mu code editor, which is a really nice tool for working with CircuitPython. There's a new version of it out, I think pretty recently, a new beta maybe. I have not tested it out yet, but I do intend to. But one of the things I actually want to try was just using PyCharm directly on the device instead of Mu, because I'm very familiar with PyCharm. I use it for a lot of other development, even CircuitPython development I use it for, particularly like libraries and other repositories. Anything that has a repository I tend to use PyCharm for, because I like the tools that are in there for working with VCS systems. But previously I never did use it on actual CircuitPython devices. So if you're familiar with CircuitPython, you'll know that when you have a CircuitPython device connected, you're going to have a drive like this, CircuitPy, and you're probably going to have a file on it called code.py. And the normal sort of workflow is that you open up this code.py. The recommended editor would be Mu, but you could use pretty much any text editor. You're going to open that file, you're going to edit the code that's inside of it, and then you're going to save it. And then whenever you save it, the microcontroller will notice that you saved, and it will reset itself and run the new version of the code. So that's one of the really, whoa, of course we got the cat going crazy right now, as is tradition. That's one of the really cool things about CircuitPython, though, is that iteration loop of saving the code and having it run. But the problem with that, at least as it relates to PyCharm, is that PyCharm and a bunch of the IntelliJ IDEs, they save all the time. They're constantly saving the file. You don't even really have to typically worry about saving anything, truthfully. They just save whenever you... It turns out, actually, which we're going to see in a minute, it turns out that they save whenever you click away. Like if you Alt-Tab to a different window or something like that, they save. And they also save if you idle for X amount of seconds, if that's enabled. So that's a problem with CircuitPy drives, because if it's saving all the time, then that device is going to be resetting all the time, because that iteration loop is driven by the idea of just watching for the save and then resetting. So in its default state, we really can't use PyCharm to edit code on a device, because it would just be resetting all the time. So I was looking around a little bit, and I found this website, which is a blog post that's about disabling the autosave in PyCharm and really all the IntelliJ IDEs. They all work pretty much the same. Of course, PyCharm is the one I care about for this. So there's a couple caveats that they list here. And then down towards the bottom of this page, they have some instructions how to disable autosave. So this is what I did. I've already done it, but I am going to go ahead and open up the menu again and show you what I did. It is basically settings, which you can get, I think, Control-Alt-S, yep. So settings, and then appearance and behavior system settings. So we're going to go there. Maybe we can go side by side. No. Appearance and behavior system settings, and then autosave. There's a whole section for it right here. And when I got to this page, it was like this. This check mark here was on, but this top one was off. So I don't know if I turned that off in the past or if it defaulted that way. But one way or another, mine did not have this top one on. But it did have the second one. So I went ahead and unchecked that. You know, I verified that this top one was not on. And then the other thing that's really nice to do, which this page also recommends, is editor, general, editor tabs. So editor, general, editor tabs. And then it says, it's a little bit different actually. This blog post is from 2015. I have PyCharm from this year or last year, I guess, probably. So the name of stuff is a little bit different. Like this says save files on frame deactivation. But if we look back at what it actually said, it was different. It was save files when switching to a different application. So, you know, they simplified it a little bit, but it's probably the same thing. This one says, you know, application idle for X seconds. Whoops. Whereas in PyCharm, it actually says, you know, IDE is idle. So almost the same, but a little tweak. This editor tabs one is the same thing. So if we go back to editor tabs, I think it's slightly different than whatever it says here. Mark modified files with asterisk. So I found appearance mark modified right here, and it has an actual asterisk and not the word. So I did go ahead and turn that one on as well, which is going to be nice because it will put an asterisk on the tab so that we know it's been modified, so we know that we need to save it since the IDE is no longer going to be auto-saving for us. Let me close this. Okay, so those are the things I did. After you change those two settings, you can just click apply. Again, I already did this, so my apply is gray because I don't have any new changes. Let me see if there was anything else in here. Yeah, no, that's it. Okay, so yeah, this person wanted to do this for their normal workflow because they're just used to saving, and you know, they get tripped up by the autosave for some reason. So that's not really why I'm doing it, but it's gonna work for letting us save code on this device as well. So that's half of the equation. We can now save code or, you know, write code and then, you know, not have it autosave on the device, and we can save it when we want to get it to reset. The other half of the equation is we need debugging, right? We need to have access to the serial console. So to do that, PyCharm already has a terminal window built in right here. So this would give you access to a terminal. So if you've ever watched the stream before, you probably have seen me do, it occurs to me I don't know how to quit. Anyway, though, I can make a new tab maybe to show this. If you ever have seen me on the stream before, then you probably have seen me use the terminal for get commands, right? Like checking out branches, running pre-commit, building Sphinx documentation, all of that kind of stuff is super handy to have the terminal just built into the IDE like this. So what I have here, as you might have guessed if you saw what I was doing a second ago, is this is actually connected to TIO. TIO is the name of the program, and it is connected to the device. I do want to figure out how to disconnect it though, because I want to show you how to find your device and connect to it. Disconnect. Is it? So usually Control-C is how you quit programs that are terminal programs. But of course Control-C with CircuitPython device will go to the REPL. Maybe Control-X sometimes. Let me try that. No. Okay. Let me keep looking. How do we close this? If anybody knows how to close TO. Oh, there we go. Control-TQ. Okay, that sounds like Vim or something maybe. Control-TQ. Okay, there we go. So it looks like Control-T. Control-T is like the base command, and then there's a bunch of other commands, including question mark, which is pretty useful. Okay, so let me take a step back here. TIO is the name of the program. To connect to it, you need to know the port of your device. So on Linux, thank you. Somebody put that, Dexter, you put that in the chat. I appreciate that. Thank you. You need to know the port of your device. On Linux, devices show up as /dev/tty. The way that I find them usually is go ls/dev tty star, and then this lists a bunch of stuff, and then the CircuitPython devices typically are these ones here, TTY ACM0, and then I happen to have two devices plugged in. I have my touch deck plugged in also, so I have a 0 and a 1. I don't really know which one is which. So one thing is I did connect previously. I could just go up, and I would find that the PyGamer is 0. But let's say if I didn't know which one was which, and I needed to figure it out, I would just connect to one first. So like, and the way you connect is just run to/dev tty acm. So, let's say I didn't know and I thought maybe it was 1, acm1. So I would connect to it. You can see here it says I'm connected. You can see here it tells me how to quit. So if I would have paid attention, then I would have already known how to do that. And then I would just go to the REPL, Control C, and then when you are in the REPL, it prints this version information which tells you what device right there. So this one is the Feather RP2040. That's my touch deck. So I'm going to Control D it to get it to relaunch itself. Hopefully it's not going to have that touchscreen thing. But we'll disconnect from this, so Control T, wait for that to get, yeah, okay, touch deck's coming back, so Control T, Q. So, we figured out that it's not ACM1, there's only one other choice, ACM0 right now, but of course if we had more to choose from, we could just keep connecting and see which one's which. So I can Control C here. Of course I was already in the REPL, so maybe if I do Control D first and then Control C, we can see, this one is the PyGamer. Another thing we can see, the version of CircuitPython is a little bit out of date. Why don't we update that while we are here before we get going with too much other stuff? So circuitpython.org, downloads, PyGamer. Let's do that one. PyGamer Advanced looked cool. I don't know if any of them ever got made. Maybe it will come out soon. Beta 4. I think it had Airlift on the back, maybe. Save that. So we're going to copy that, and then we want to reset the PyGamer, just with a double click on reset there. So PyGamer, one of the cool things about it, it has a fancy image for the bootloader screen. I don't know why more devices don't have that. If they have a built-in screen, that's kind of nice that it has like, instructions that tell you what to do and also tells you the version you're on and everything. So that's pretty cool. So I copied that UF2. We want to paste it onto this device. PyGamer boot. Paste. And one thing is you see in TIO, it will like automatically disconnect here and reconnect. So like as my device resets because I'm loading a new version of CircuitPython, this is just going to automatically disconnect, and then whenever that device shows up again, it will automatically reconnect. So that's really cool. That way, our connection lives through those resets. We don't have to worry about like reconnecting after the fact. So one thing is that all the code's gone now. I think it just needs to refresh though. Problem is the code's gone. Okay, so this is my first time doing this, so this is a problem we're gonna have to work through. Project scratches. What is scratches? Why am I in scratches? Interesting. Maybe the drive. No, okay, the drive is here. Did it really make scratches? No. One bad thing about this is it is going to make this IDEA folder. I don't know how big this folder gets. This doesn't tell me this. Oh yeah, there it is. 5.8K. That's not bad. It is going to make this folder, which is kind of a bummer. It's going to take up space with a bunch of crap that we don't really need on the device. I could, what is that? Open folder? I can't see, it's a little too small. I could open the folder. Which folder? Oh, open, oh, like just reopen the project. Yeah, I can do that. I don't, let me quit this though. I don't think, TQ. So I gotta go media. Oh. Refresh. What? Is it on the boot still? No, it's on CircuitPy. Okay, so one thing to note is I guess don't have PyCharm open on the device when you update CircuitPython. Let me just close this and try again. Media. There we go. New window. There we go. Something made this stuff too. That might have been PyCharm also. Okay. But now we're good. So we don't need two terminals. We can connect TO, dev, TTY, ACM 0. Connected. And pull up CodePy. Okay, so I think we're ready to go. Let's make sure we got the new version. Yep, 6.2.0 beta 4, so that did work correctly. That's good. So we want to work on movement first. So I want to basically just try to do a couple of things. I want to try to get this code out of the user code.py and start building an object like a game map loader or something like that. That will kind of like load this stuff and return you back an easy to use object to build your game with, so you don't have to worry too much about the details, hopefully. So I'm going to start refactoring it that way. The other thing is, of course, right now we only have rendering. We don't have like anything else going on. We don't have the sprite moving with arrow buttons. We don't have interactions between the sprite and the other tiles. So we're going to work on kind of some of that stuff all together here. And one of the ways that I want to do this is inside the tiled game editor. It supports this idea of the tiles having custom properties. So the way that I added this was I have my map open. I went to edit the tile set, and then you can select which tile you want to edit. So like, let's say I want to edit the wall, or you can even do multiples. Let's say I want to edit all the walls at once. I can select all them here, and then you can do add property. And so I made this property right here, can walk, and I made it a Boolean. So I've already added it to everything, and then what I did is all the walls have that false. They have the box unchecked. The floor has the box checked, and then these other sprites here have the box checked. So Blinka, will be allowed to walk on those things. Of course, this by itself, it's just a Boolean, right? It doesn't do anything besides store that data. We actually have to write the logic to do it. So I did that, and then I saved a copy, and then if we look at the code that it saved, because if you remember, if you caught this when I was working on it before, what we found is that saving the map into JSON format is what worked best. And so inside the JSON format, we have our layers. So we have the background layer, we have the entity layer, and of course, the data is like a big list of tile indexes. And what we have now that we added those custom properties is we have down here tiles, and there's a list that contains each tile with its ID. So tile ID number 1 has these properties right here. So there's only one of them right now, but there's room for more. This is a list, so it could have more things in it. The name of the property is can walk, the type is Boolean, the value of this tile, again, index number 1 is true. So index number 2 is true. We could go down and find the walls, for instance. Like here, they start index ID 6, and we see there that it's false. So our job will be to write some logic to grab the Boolean out of here and use it to determine whether the sprite is allowed to walk on that tile or not. But before we can care about whether the sprite is allowed to walk on a tile, we actually have to have the sprite being able to walk at all. So let's work on that. And how do we want to do that? I think we want to use microgame. Let me see what I did in the other. Let me see what I did in the other tile map game. Tile map game learn guide. I want to say that it uses. Well, I don't know if it's UGame or microgame. I think it's supposed to be microgame, kind of like Microlab. Rendering and movement. This is rendering movement. Yeah, I did use UGame, which again, I think that might be microgame, but I'm not sure. So this, I think this is what we want to use. The good thing about this is that a bunch of different devices have this implemented, and they have their own, I guess, like pin assignments or whatever. Like it abstracts it so that you don't have to care about which device you're on. Like, for instance, I have a Pi Gamer, but a Pi Gamer is actually pretty close. So this is the device we're working on right here, but it's actually pretty close to the same device as a Pi Badge. It's not rounded, okay, it's a little bit different size, but like it has a lot of the same stuff. Start select buttons. It has 4 individual buttons instead of a joystick, but it's still, you know, a D-pad effectively. It has an A and a B button. It has a lot of the same stuff on the back. So like this device is pretty similar. There's a couple variations of this device. There's like a lower cost one, which has less components. Like it doesn't have as many NeoPixels, and there might be some other differences. There's also this one here, Edge Badge, which is also a very similar one. That has a microphone on the front, which is made for like TensorFlow stuff. So there's a couple of different devices that all, you know, kind of work the same way. There's also third-party devices like the PewPew M4, which is actually Deshipu created this device, which is the same person that made UGame, which is a library we're using. So this device is kind of form factor like a Game Boy a little bit, but it still has a D-pad, it still has an A and a B button, or they're labeled differently on this. They're like X, Y, Z or something, I think, or O, X, and Z, I think maybe. But it has all of the same, you know, basic functionality as all of these other devices here. So wouldn't it be really nice if we could just write our code once and it would work on all these devices? And so that is exactly what this UGame code here gives us. Where did right here, okay. So this is implemented on all those different devices, and all of them use the same constants for up, down, right, and left, even though each of those devices might be slightly different on what button is actually controlling that. And on the Pi Gamer, even it's a joystick instead of a button. So that's what we're going to use. We need to import it, and then we will use get pressed, and we'll use a mask there to test and see which button was actually pressed. So let's get started with that. Import UGame. And that's the wrong browser. I think I forgot to mention about the chat. Most folks I think are used to this, but for anybody who might be new, we are in the chat on the Adafruit Discord and the live broadcast room. So if you want to hang out and chat with us, that is where to find us. I will try to keep an eye on the Twitch chat, but fair warning, I am not as good at that. I kind of got to click around a few different places, and I forget to do it sometimes. So if you want to get my attention, the best place is the Adafruit Discord again. I think, we don't really want this code I highlighted here. This is just an example that is showing the concepts. It's showing how to call get pressed and then mask it with a constant in order to test if it was a certain button. What we want is this code down here, I think, because this has debouncing logic in it, and it also has some movement logic already implemented. So we might need to change that a little bit, since like we're not using the CSV map anymore, which is what this was made for. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I think the majority of this, though, we are going to be able to reuse. So this is going to go inside our main loop. No, that's going to be our main loop, I guess. So let me undo that real quick. Let's do this. So we create a variable before we go to the loop called previous button values. How's it going, Hugo? Good morning. Whoops. We create previous button values. We set it to whatever the current state is. And then each time through the loop, we will check, we'll get the new current state, and then we will test it against the previous state. That way we can tell, like, we want to find the edge of when the button got pressed, because we don't want it to repeat. We could go back and write logic to where, like, if you hold the button down, then it will repeat so that you could, like, keep moving or something. But for right now, we just want one action. Let's keep it simple. So we debounce it. We say, you know, if the button just got pressed down and it didn't used to be pressed down, then that's when we want to take action. And the action we want to take is updating player lock. Yeah, let's go ahead and make that. What is this saying? Unresolved reference. I think it would just be a dictionary. Let me see what it was in this one. So, you know, some of the stuff from this old CSV example I'm going to carry over, but some of it I'm not. So let's see if it makes sense to bring this in. I think it's going to... we don't even have that in here, actually. Player lock. Let me get the rest of the code. Where's the full code? Let's go here. Let's go view on GitHub. Let's look at the other files. Basic movement. Yeah, that's what we want. And it is just a dictionary with X and Y. I think that's fine. We'll probably end up, again, refactoring this. So this will probably go inside of the game object or the map object or something. Is that the location we want? Yeah, that's fine for now, I think. So these should be happy. And so basically, you know, right here we have X and Y in tile coordinates. So the index 4 tile in, so which is probably the 5th tile over, and then the index 3 tile down, which is probably the 4th tile down, because this probably starts with index number 0. That's a guess. I could be wrong, but I think that's probably how it is. And so in the movement buttons down here, whenever the arrow buttons get pressed, we will basically just subtract 1 or add 1 to the appropriate one of those values. And then here, it's X and Y, which is exactly, if you look right here, how we originally placed the sprite to begin with. So I think we could comment this out for now, and this will place the sprite for us. Although we do need to place the sprite for the first time. We don't want to wait until a button is pressed to place it. So let's do it like this, actually. Yeah. Johnny, how's it going? Good morning. Nice, got the tattoos in. We're looking at tiled map games today, and also we're experimenting with running PyCharm to edit the code on the device. So that's the two things I'm kind of looking at today. So you can see here, if you saw those settings that I made before, this is one of the settings I did, was to add this little asterisk on the tab there. So I think this might be all we need for movement. Let's give this a try. So let's go left. We can minimize that. We can get a terminal still. And then let's get the camera over here. Let me keep that code back, actually. Whoops. Can I have that? Maybe it's too late. There we go. We don't need that or that. We can keep that. We don't need that. We don't need that. Let's get the camera right. Okay, so now we can save this by just doing Control S, and then it should get rid of the asterisk, and it should reset the device. It does make it reset twice, I noticed. That's not ideal, but it is what it is. Some of my devices do that from Mu as well, even, so I don't think that's unheard of. I'm not entirely sure what it is. My guess is that it's probably saving something inside of that IDEA folder or something like that also. So that's making it reset twice. But if we look at what happened, it does look like it worked. We got Blinka is now on the right side of Adabot because, you know, we told it, I think, what, 4-3, and that is where it landed. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 gets us to Blinka. 0 is the wall. 1, 2, 3 gets us to Blinka. So that's why Blinka spawned there. Theoretically, we can use the D-pad to move Blinka around now. And one thing is, though, we don't have any collision, right? We put that Boolean in, but we haven't written the logic for it. So if I go down... Interesting. It is blocking me, though. Maybe there is logic in there. I can walk on top of Ohm, though, which we will want to fix probably. Maybe Adabot 2. Or maybe we want to allow Blinka to go on top of those so they can hang out together. I don't know. We'll see. Let's figure out why that's clamped. I think... Max. Yes. These max and mins right here are keeping it clamped. And we don't want that, actually. It's nice because it's keeping Blinka within the bounds of the walls right now, but the problem is we don't want to just have these hard-coded as numbers in here. We want to be able to support maps of different sizes and shapes. So it's not going to be as easy as this min max. We want to use the can walk value that we put in our map. So let's get rid of this. For now, we'll just go dangerous style, where we just update it without caring about the bounds. Let me... Running Blinka against the code on the device. Yep. I've seen a double reboot from Mewtwo, yeah. So I wonder if that's OS. Yeah, that could be as well, like an index file, an ultimate stream. That's definitely true. My OS is Linux, and it does all kinds of weird stuff that I don't understand. That is for sure. I'm getting better at figuring out what's doing what and how to work with stuff, but there's still a lot of stuff going on that's kind of beyond me. Okay, so now we should, if we save this again, we should be able to just move outside the walls, which sounds bad, but is actually what we want for now. There we go. So now if I go up, yeah, I can walk on the walls, and I can even go outside the walls by going up again, but I can come back on. So it does keep track of the position. You know, I can go over twice or 3 times or whatever, and technically the map still exists out there, or the locations still exist, I guess. And, you know, I have to come back that many times to get back onto the screen. But all of that's working. So this is what we want. Now what we want to do, though, is whenever we go to move, we want to check the can walk value of the tile that we're trying to move onto. So how do we want to do that? we need to look up the tile that we are trying to move onto. So instead of just updating this, I'm going to go back to full screen here. Instead of just updating this, terminal closed, we will make a new variable. I don't want to do this inside of all of the different loops though. So I have this concept in the CSV one somewhere. Let's see actually if we want to take anything from there or if we want to rewrite this. This explains the movement, but it's the basic movement. Map file. Okay. Set camera view. We're going to end up redoing some of this logic because we definitely want to have a camera and all that stuff still, but that's pretty heavily tied to the CSV map in this one, so we're going to have to redo a fair bit of that. I don't see the code I'm really looking for though. Let me go back to GitHub. Here and here. Let's look in here. So I think I had a canwalk function in this one. No, is tile movable? Yeah. I think we want that. We'll have to modify how it works because again, you know, this is looking for CSV stuff. But conceptually, we want this function. I'm just going to toss it up here. And again, eventually I'm going to refactor this stuff, so this would end up like inside the game object probably. Is tile movable? Coordinates. So what are we going to do? We are going to get X and Y like this. Does this still make sense? It does, yeah, because I went ahead and did use the same name, Canwalk, so this comment is still accurate. Keithy, good morning. How's it going? Thanks for joining us. Okay, XY map object. Do we have a map object? Yeah. Do we have width on it? Has layers. It does, yeah, probably. Well, it has a height, so it probably has a width. Yeah. Okay. So that should be fine. And we got an X and a Y. So we need to look up the tile that's at that place out of the map, which should be happening down here somewhere. Like this. Except the problem is we don't want an X and a Y, do we? We want... And also we wouldn't want this to be indexed anyway. We would want the ones that got passed from us. So we need to do the reverse of this actually. We need to take our X and Y coordinates and figure out the index. We need to solve for index. Yeah, so we have X and Y already. We need to solve for index. Index is equal to what? Tile coordinates. Tile coordinates xy. So y is 1. Y times width plus x. Just x or x? Just x. Well, not x, but yeah, x from the tile chords. Plus tile chords 0, which is x. And then tile type is map object layer 0 data. So one thing is we're always pulling out of layer 0. We will need to make some logic sometime to pull out of the other layers also. Because I do have that split out. I have a background layer and I have an entity layer. So my background layer has my walls, and then my entity layer has my 2 characters. So eventually we're going to want to have to check both of those. But for now, let's keep it simple. Shadows, we shouldn't do that. We don't need these. Okay, let's print the index and let's print the tile type. And then let's just return true for now so that we can test what our values print. And then let's call isTileMovable let's just do it how do I want to do it? I don't want to write it 4 times. Let's new lock for a new location. It's gonna be a tuple. I guess it doesn't matter if we initialize it or not. I don't know. No. New lock. Let's make it the same. Let's make it a dictionary with XY. I like that better. So truthfully, it can really just start as the current lock. So then in here, what we're gonna do is update new lock instead of player lock, like this. And then down here, we can say isTileMovable. But this wants a tuple, not a dictionary. I should just rewrite it to take a dictionary. New lock. Let's go inside of here. So this is not going to be a tuple anymore. This is going to be a dictionary. This makes the code a little more clear, I think. I don't know why I use different quotes. We want width. We want to change this one. Yeah. Okay. So we could actually do this a little further. We can say if the tile is movable, then set the player lock to the new lock. If it was not movable, then we don't do that, and therefore we stay where we're at. But for now, of course, it's not enforcing it. It's always returning true, but it's going to print so we can see what it would do if it were enforcing it. Okay, so let's open the terminal. Let's save this. Okay. It is printing far too much stuff. We want to only do this if they're different. Can you test if dictionaries are not equal to each other? Oh, also then this would be this. See if that's slower. No. Well, maybe. Let's move. No, I don't think that's working. I don't think we're going inside here at all, because this is not working to compare those dictionaries, I don't think. Yeah. It never says lock changed. Uh-oh. Somehow we lost Blinka. Oh well. We needed to figure out how to compare dictionaries. Is? Sometimes? Like this? That's probably not going to work either, though. Well, okay. That one works, but it works every frame. Because we want not. Oh dear. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Got mediated cat fight real quick. Hey K-Match, good morning. Okay, does this change now? No. So that's not working. Instead of comparing dictionaries, we could keep a Boolean whenever the button gets pressed. Just check the Boolean. Python compare dictionaries. Let's see what Google has for us. I don't care how many pairs are equal. Well, I care if all of them are equal. Just loop over all of them. This says equals equals. Did I have the logic wrong somehow? No, that's not working. I could check the X and Y explicitly. That's kind of more code than I want. I think I'll just add the Boolean. So we say moved true, and then if moved was true, we do the stuff. And we set it back to false. We should probably give it a different name than moved, because eventually if the tile is not movable, then the player's not going to move, even though moved would have been true. So probably could choose a better name for that. Let's try it though. Parsing the keys, yeah, I could check each of the keys individually. I could do that, but that will make kind of a big if statement. Okay, this is what we want here. So are the indexes correct? Let's go to 0. Yes, index 0, and the ID of the tile it thinks is 15. Is that correct? How do you know? ID is 6. So let me make sure these are actually what I think. Let's add some more text to those prints. It's always thinking 15. For the type, but the index does look like it's changing correctly. And it is 0 in the top left, which is correct. So layers 0 data 0 is definitely 7. Map object layers 0 data index. We have another variable called index. That's unfortunate. I guess these, or maybe it's making a new one, I don't know, but that's probably the issue. See if I can get rid of the smudge or just make it worse. Okay. Yeah, type. There we go. Type 7, that's correct. Type 8, 9 would be this corner over here. Yep. Okay. So now we're getting the right index and we're getting the right tile type. So we just need to look up whether we're allowed to walk on that tile or not. Les Samurai, Porpe, how are you? Thank you for joining us. Yes, it should be underscore index. I need to check the chat more often. Thank you. Thank you for that. Let me see. I think I missed a couple messages actually. Compare function. So Keith wrote us a compare function. Maybe for key in A, if key is in B, then check is equal false, is equal false. I could use that. One thing I would do is in here where it's what's the easiest way to do this? Let me just drag Discord over here. In here where it's is equals false, I would probably just go return false. That way you return as soon as you know it's false. You'll save ever so slightly a tiny amount of time. It probably wouldn't matter with just X and Y keys only, but if you had a big dictionary, I can imagine equals equals, it could be checking reference. Ooh. Keys.all. What does all do? I'm not sure. That works too, yeah, break. I got it drilled into my head by my high school Java teacher that break was pretty much the worst thing on the planet. So I don't necessarily hold that same view, but at the same time, like I am, you know, potentially unfairly biased against using break. So where am I at? I got the tile type. I think I might switch it out with this dictionary. This is kind of nice being able to compare. I think for now I'm going to leave it for Boolean and keep going a little bit. Use break over returns. Yeah, I mean it's a style thing. I'm kind of that, you know, the thing that that teacher drilled in my head, which I actually agree with and have kept, is the not using switch case, which Python doesn't have switch case, or it didn't. Maybe they're making a new one in the new Python. I don't know, but like Java has switch case, and with switch case you have to use break, or it does something that you think is weird, probably. And so like she basically just drilled it in our heads, like just don't use it because it's basically like messing with the flow of the program, which like return does also. So, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen of another, really. We need to loop over the, well, we probably don't want to loop every time though. We should probably load this stuff into a dictionary. So tile sets. Where's the? Oh, right. This is good map 0, and I saved the one with the data, the can walk. I actually saved that as good map 1. Let me copy that over. Project. So I got my touch deck set up to close and open a bunch of these things inside the IDE. We can make this go good map 1. Where does it read from? What's switch case in Java? I'll pull it up in a minute. When it comes to Python and its personal preference, use break over returns. I know where my functions are returning from. It is kind of nice to just always know it's going to return at the end. I will give you that. Been burned rarely by using returns that too often. Switch case in Java is it's like a big else if statement, like if this, else if that, else if that, else if that. But it's different syntax, and it's like different than all of the rest of Java, basically. So you go switch, you put the variable that you want to test inside of here, then you have case, and you have the thing you want to test it against, and then you have a colon. 1 second, I'll be right back again. Hey, stop fighting. Stop. Okay. You have a colon, you have the code that you want to execute if this value was equal to this value. And then actually what you need is, you need a break. This doesn't have a break, and therefore if you try to run this, it's going to wreck you, because what happens is if you don't put a break at the end of this case block, then this one will just execute even if this wasn't true. So like it just completely ignores the case and executes if the one above was true. So like there's some ways you can use that behavior to your advantage, but the vast majority of the time, like you just forgot to put a break there, and all of a sudden this other case is executing even though its thing was not true. So that's switch case, and I don't like it because it's too easy to forget the break at the end. And Python doesn't have one, so we don't have to worry about it. And it's weird because nothing else in Java uses colons like that. Everything else in Java uses curly brackets to denote blocks of code. Stop fighting. Okay, I gotta come back in just a minute, guys. I'm sorry. I'll be right back. All right, we are back. Sorry about that, folks. The girl cat wants water, and she knows that fighting the boy cat will make the humans pay attention. So sometimes she decides to fight the boy cat to get our attention, so that we will give her water. Like hold water for her out of a cup, because she drinks out of a cup because she's a little princess. All right, where were we at? Let me catch up here a little bit. Continue for Python. I've not used continue too much myself. C#, switch statement, yeah, versus switch case. Yeah, I don't, it might not, that might not be a common term. I don't know how widely used it is, that term switch case. That might just be a thing I call it. Continue. Break will avoid a lot of elifs. Yeah, that's true. I tend to just want a bunch of elifs though. Like if that's what my logic is, if it's, you know, this, else, like I tend to just want all of them there. Java doesn't have ternary. Does it? I don't know. I don't think so. JavaScript does. If Java does, I don't use it, but I'm not actually sure. Oh, okay, Java does, but Kotlin doesn't. Yeah, that's true. That is definitely true. Okay. Where was I at? I printed the value. Yes, we were reading out of the map. I saved the new map. We need to know whether the tile is walkable. If we want to know whether the tile is walkable, we could loop through this list every time until we find the right ID, and then once we have the ID, we could loop through all the properties and find the value of the CanWalk property. I think it would be nicer though if we like preload this stuff into a dictionary to where we have the ID as the key and then an object with the name of the property and the value of the property. So what we want to end up with, and we're not going to hard code this in our code, but just to give you an idea, what we want is TileDict, I'll just call this TileDict for dictionary, is a dictionary, so like ID1, is an object which has CanWalk, and ID1 happens to be, well actually ID1 is Blinka. Let's do ID 6 or 7? 7. 7. So it would be like this. That way we can just say TileDict, the index we want, the property we want, and then we get the value. And then this would actually be false, not true, for that particular tile. Okay. So we need to load it like that. Or I think we want to load it like that at least. Gonna comment this out so that I can keep it for reference. And where do we want to do that is after we, I think we can get rid of this now finally. I don't think we need this really. Where do we open the map? Right here, map object. Where do we want to do it where we loop? Why don't, let's just do it up front, I think. I'm gonna call it tile properties. It's a dictionary. We're gonna loop over all of the, well, does this one have tiles? It's inside tile sets. Does not have tiles in the old one. So we want to check and make sure it has tiles before we access it. So map object tile sets, if tiles in map object tile sets, then we want to go in here, we want to loop over all the tiles in it for tile in map object tile sets tiles. And then we want to get the ID. is tile ID. And then we want to get the properties. We want to get all the properties. Right now we only have one, but we want to write this code so that it's going to support multiples once we get there. So we might as well just plan ahead a little bit and do this whole loop. So for property, I am going to stick with underscores in tile properties. One thing that's nice sometimes is this way. Philosophical code, yep. VD script. I'm concerned what is it supposed to do? Yeah. I'm pretty big on like functionally. If it works, then it's probably fine. If it works and you understand it, then it's definitely fine. Even if somebody else says it's wrong or it could be better or whatever, like working and being understandable by the person who wrote it or the people who have to work on it, those are king in my mind. As long as you meet those bars, then everything else is like do what you want. Do what's easiest for you at the end of the day, like, yeah. Okay. Let me make sure I can see this. So we're looping over properties. We want to start building the dictionary. So we need to add the ID to the top level of our dictionary if it's not there yet. So if tile ID is not in tile properties, then add it. And it's a dictionary. And now on each one of the properties, we want to go tile properties, tile ID, property name, and then the value is the property value. We don't need to worry about the type, I don't think, for right now. I'm not going to write code that checks if it's a Boolean and does something different, so I'm not going to worry about bringing that in. Whoops. Okay, so add the empty dictionary if it's not in there yet. Loop over the properties. Set the current property's name to the current property's value. That would keep looping. Yeah, I think we should end up with what we want at the end of that. So let's print it and see how it goes. One thing is it would have printed all the way back up here. We should turn off some of these prints. Why don't we do that? Wish it would not make those. Okay, let's try it like that. Still printed all of those. Oh, they're not. Don't seem to be connected anymore. Control TQ doesn't work anymore. Okay. I mean, it's not really. Anybody have advice for what to do if TO Control C doesn't do anything anymore and Control T doesn't do anything anymore? Oh yeah, Angular. Skidding placement. C# work. Messed with C# a little bit, but not very much. Close the PyCharm terminal and restart. Yeah. I wonder how it got locked. And is it gonna let me connect to it again? Yes. So that's cool at least. Ooh, empty dictionary. That's not what we want. Let's make sure it's the right thing. Yep. Okay. Let's see what's going wrong here. Did not ever print any tile IDs. Did I switch the map? Yes. Terminal. Doesn't have tiles. Does it need to be .keys? Oh, tile sets 0 tiles. Eventually we could loop over different tile sets also. For now though, I just have one tile set for one game. There we go. Okay, now we're looking good. 7 can walk is false. So that's perfect. So now we have a dictionary that we can use to check on can walk. So inside our function, we can say return Tile properties. And no. Tile type. Can walk. Should do a little bit of guardrails and make sure it actually has a can walk. And then we'll make the default false so that if the tile doesn't have the variable, then you're just not allowed to walk there. So this is returning the value from can walk, and down here, if is tile movable, then set player lock to new lock. So that should just work, I think. Sweet, so I moved up again. Here's the test. Nope. Okay. Index is 4, type is 8. Got rid of my print. If I'm a guy, we really need to do something about the keyboard vibrating into the microphone. I set it on something soft, and I have had it there. The bass is coming through. I think the true answer is taking the microphone off the desk, probably. I need to get a mic arm that will hold the microphone, or I need to get a lapel mic and tape it to my shirt or something. I will try to work on that. Does this mic have a... Hopefully that's not too loud, sorry. It's got some kind of screw on the bottom. Yeah, I'm sure it is resonating through the desk for sure. I got clicky keys and the mic is... I have it sitting on some beanbags now, so hopefully it's better than it was before, but... a washcloth? I could try a washcloth. I have it... I don't know if I have an easy way to show it. But I have it setting on some beanbags. So it was just on the desk by itself before. But now it's like on these beanbags, but that's not helping out enough, I guess. See if that shows up. So yeah, I'll have to get an arm or something. Yeah, I was thinking the beanbag would be... Maybe I'll put another... I can put another cloth or something under it also. Okay. That's updating. Took a picture so I can show you, but it'll take a second to sync. Where are we at? I closed my code somehow. Oh, this is a wrong file, wrong PyCharm. There we go. Yes, tile properties. we can take out this. There we go. So up, up, up. Type is 8. 8 says can walk false. There's my microphone on the it's on two beanbags there. It's kind of dusty. Can walk is false. If can walk is false, why? Let's try just printing that and see if it's, I mean, it must be saying true. Can walk is always false, but I'm moving anyway. So 2 questions then. Why is can walk always false? And if can walk is false, why am I moving? Cherry MX blues. I do think I have blues or maybe browns. One of the clicky ones. Browns. Large mouse pad. Oh, a mouse pad under the keyboard. I could try that. Beanbag isn't dampening the low frequency. I'll try some cloths next week. But I think, ouch. I think the real answer is to just get an arm or some kind of mic that can go closer to my face and farther away from the keyboard. Because I have the mic like kind of right behind the keyboard, so it's definitely going to pick up the sounds from it a lot more. If I can get the mic closer to my face, I could also use a filter or whatever so that it will not pick up stuff that's further away. Why? Yes, the 2 questions. Why is can walk always false? And if can walk is false, why are we being allowed to move? Player lock doesn't get updated unless is tile movable returns true. Is tile movable returns true only if can walk is true. But we're printing right there. We're getting can walk is false. Keyboards are a business expense. Yeah, that's true. This is not a cheap keyboard either. I've been thinking about buying a new one also. Swedish keyboard layout. So the problem is finding one. Yeah, I don't use a weird layout, but I use a weird keyboard. I mean, I guess the layout's kind of weird. I shouldn't say weird, actually. Swedish layout's not weird. That's my bad. I shouldn't have said that. What is going on here? I think that we should make... let's try like this. So we're gonna call is tile movable twice. Why don't we store it? Okay. Can walk false, tile is movable false. So those match, which is good. Those should match, but again... these dictionaries are like linked or whatever. When I update new lock, it's updating player lock. And then because it updates player lock down here, it updates the sprite. That's my hypothesis. Yeah. So we don't want that. I don't know. There's probably a clone or something that I should be doing. Dictionaries are shallow copied. We need to run deep copy. Do you know if CircuitPython has deep copy? Let's find out, I guess. Let's go here. Well, copy. No attribute deep copy. So that would have to get implemented in the core if we want to use it. So for now we'll just do this, even though it's kind of verbose. So y equals player lock. Oh, but it's gonna get messed up again when we set it. Well, we'll just do the same thing, I guess. So set the X to the player lock, set the Y to the player lock, and then in here we're going to want to do the reverse. And then not do this. Okay. Alright, now we're down to only one problem, which is CanWalk is being false for everything. But my index is still moving. And this is still changing, which is new lock. We want to make new lock, we want to do this every frame. So that if we did not move, new lock gets reset back to be the same as player lock. Because if the player didn't move, then we want new lock to go back. So if we set it to match at the beginning of every frame, they should always be in sync. Okay, now we're looking. Oh, no. Why are those still changing? I mean, we still have the problem that everything is returning CanWalk false, which we do want to fix, but if CanWalk is false, how are these being allowed to change? New lock gets updated in here. So it should be different when I click the button. Okay, that makes sense actually. That does make sense. And it's the same if I move the same way. So if I go down, it says X4, Y4. If I go down again, it still says X4, Y4 again. If I go down again, it still says X4, Y4 again. If I go right, then it says Y3, X5, but it will always be Y3, X5 when I go right. That does make sense, because that's the tile that we might move to. That makes sense. But player lock is staying the same, which is good. That's what we want. So now we just need to figure out why CanWalk is wrong. So we're getting CanWalk false, so CanWalk is in tile properties, tile type. Let's just print this. Tile 11.canwalk is false. Canwalk with camel case? Did I do the wrong case somewhere? So that says false, which is type 11, which is false. Right. We're off by 1. Because these are 1 indexed based, but tile grid is 0 indexed based. But I mean, we're saving the ID. Maybe my index and type are not actually correct. So all 4 directions right now have an empty floor in them, which is tile ID 10. Which here does have can walk true, but here this is saying type is 11. Ooh, that's a nice looking keyboard. Keychron. Yeah. Paint the keyboard. Nice. Why are we getting... Oh. Yeah. We are off by 1 because... the ID so we have 2 and 3 here, which is Adabot and Ohm. And that's 2 and 3, so that implies our indexes there are 1 based. So 0 means empty because we have a bunch of zeros in the entity layer. If we had a Blinka, she would be 1. We do have a Sparky or a Adabot and an Ohm, which are 2 and 3. And then here we have a bunch of 11s, which are actually the empty floors, have the ID 10. So if they have the ID 10, why are they 11s in here? That's... And this one is true. So down here it has an ID of 10, but up here in the map it has an ID of 11. That's not how I would have done it, I don't think, but maybe there's a good reason for it. Hot swappables. You know what I saw? This is getting off track, but I thought it was kind of cool. And since we're talking about keyboards, in the new products right here, this thing looks pretty cool to me. It's not a full keyboard, obviously. Let's pull it up on this screen. It's a Featherwing that has 2 cherry key bases or whatever, like the stamp for you to stick a cherry key in it. So you can make a little Featherwing with 2 keys on it. Or, you know, if you have a doubler or a tripler or whatever, you could make it with more than 2 of these. You could add multiples together to make a little keyboard, and it's, you know, $5. So that seems like kind of a cool thing. I'll probably pick one of those up when it's actually out. Okay, so we need to just -1 the tile type. Whoops. Tile type -1. What is that? A little whiteout or something? Yeah. Optical switches, yeah. My wife got a sample keyboard with optical switches to write about. That's pretty interesting, the way they have different mechanisms now for those keys. Okay, let's go terminal. Oh, there we go. So up again. Up again? Nice. It does not let me go up again. So I can go over, but I can't go anymore. That's perfect. I can go on Adabot. I can go on Ohm. And just to make sure this is actually working how I think, if we wanted to, we could come here, select those, turn off CanWalk, save this, and then save this, which is actually export. I'll just do the same name again, GoodMap1. Yeah. Load the file system. Here's the problem with that save thing is somehow I got an E in here and it's like unsaved. And I have no idea. Okay, it's not a regular E, it's like, well, that's fascinating. Okay. That was not good. Can't save anymore. Let's do a new one after all. It's not pasting. It's a good start. All right. It says GoodMap1 in the file, so that's awesome. I don't think it matters, but that's really cool the way this is GoodMap0 and this is GoodMap0 and this is GoodMap2, but this still manages to say GoodMap1. Do we have, I don't know the IDs. Let's just test it. CodePy, we need to load GoodMap2. Nope. Oh, yes, but this is because of the entities layer being separate than the background layer. And right now my code only looks at the background layer because right here we always just get layer 0. So why don't we say, let's go ahead and solve this now. We want to check all the layers. And then if at least one of them is false, then all of them become false. So we want ANDing logic. Let's say layer can walks is a list. Let's say for layer in layers can go this inside. We don't really need this anymore. So if canWalk is in the tile properties for this tile type, then append it to the list. Layer canWalks don't need this. We don't want to return anymore. And then here now we want to say if false in layer canWalks, then return false. And then just return true otherwise. So if there are any false canWalks in any layers at that location, then we return false. We're not allowed to walk there. If there were no falses in any of the layer canWalks, then we are allowed to walk there. One thing is, this is going to be a bunch of zeros in the entity layer, which is then going to go to -1. So we know that -1 is not a real tile. -1 represents empty space, which would be true. We can walk on empty space. So if tile type is -1, then just append to true. I guess it doesn't matter that much, but for the sake of the code being consistent, append a true and then else if canWalk is in properties, then append the value of that. So we'll get a true for the entity layer on all the zeros. We won't try to look up tile properties -1. Yeah. We probably want like an else if canWalk was not in tile properties, like it did have properties but not canWalk. So that would probably be the last branch of logic here, but I think I'm gonna try it this way. Tile type, that would work. Well, that would work, but I don't have a 0, do I? I could make a 0. Because that would go max, and that would basically clamp me to always staying positive. And I guess one thing, yeah, I could just hard code the 0 in here. So yeah, I think I do like that better, actually. So let me do that. Let's go hard code 0 to be dictionary can walk true, because that's empty space. Oh, I got a format button. Boosh. Come on. There it is. Okay. Yeah, let's try it like that. And then what Hugo said, which is max. We don't really need this. Max 0. This can't be elif. And then this can be else right here if we wanted. I think we would go false. Yeah, let's go false. If it doesn't have a can walk, then you're not allowed to walk. That way, theoretically, you could only set can walks true if you wanted. You could leave your entities or whatever, your tiles, with them false. You wouldn't even have to put it. Ooh, Johnny's getting a new keyboard. Nice. Okay, so that still works, and the wall still blocks me. But Ada block. Adabot. Interesting. So, oh. Started looping layers, but we did not actually access the layer we're on. We always looked at the background, which didn't have Adabot, which means that we can walk was true. Okay, the wall works. Awesome. Yeah, Adabot works now too. It's not letting me walk on Adabot. And now ohm, let's do. Nice, yeah, it's not letting me walk on ohm either. So that's perfect. So we now can set this can walk custom property inside of our tile map game in order to declare, where our sprite is allowed to move. So I want to go ahead and save this stuff somewhere other than my device. Hi gamer map 2. I don't know if this is a repository. It's not. I'm gonna make a repository for this so that it's backed up somewhere. Is this gonna show anything private? Let me bounce over here. I don't think it does, but just for safety's sake. Speaking of safety's sake, I think I can safely fill you guys in on my little mishap yesterday. I accidentally, if anybody caught the very beginning of the stream yesterday, I accidentally leaked my stream key like a silly person. I have since gone back and cut it out of the video, so it's not there anymore. I also just regenerated the stream key, so that one's not even valid anymore. But yeah, let that be a word to the wise. make sure you know what's on your screen before you start OBS and turn on the stream. We want to call this what? CircuitPython tiled games or something. Tiled games. I'm going to call it tiled games experiments. So I just created this. We want to push our code into it. We want a git ignore. Do we have a git ignore? We don't. We want one, definitely. We definitely want idea/star. Do we want anything else? No, we can check in the rest. One thing is I'm not used to this saving thing, so I don't think there's a way to do it like per project, so I can't just have my CircuitPy drives be that way and my other projects not. So I have a feeling if I do keep using PyCharm this way, I'm going to end up like having to change that setting a lot. 15 to 20 business days for the keyboard. Yep, demerit badge. I get one. That's my first time, I think, that I've done anything like that. I contemplated fixing it right away, like cutting the stream out, regenerating it yesterday, and then making a new one right away, but in the end I just rolled with it and then changed it right after I got off, and then cut it out of the video also. Do we need anything else? I don't think so. Well, we need git init. We need to add the remote. Git remote add. Let's be good about this. Foamy guy. There's only one M in remote. Let's add the git ignore. Let's commit that. Oh, you know what? I have a button for commit. Commit. Oh, didn't push it enough. Oh, I need to be up here actually, I think. Yeah. This is folded, but that's my change list. I got git ignore. The mail's here. Adding git ignore. I have also commit and push this button. Maybe. And push. Boom. All of that was from the touch deck. So now we can add the rest. Git add all. Is it all files? No. Pre-commit is all files. I think it's just all. And then these should turn green, which they did. And then commit again. And then commit and push. Oh, I should have chose a better name for that. I think it's too late now, though. Yeah, I think it's too late now. Oh well. Push. There we go. Okay, this code is backed up now on GitHub, and if anybody else is interested in playing it, oh, I didn't spell ignore right either. Yeah, I'm bad about spelling sometimes, so that my my typo there is forever enshrined in this repo. Git add dot. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Git add dot. I should start doing that. Oh, it's our Arduino day. Today? Is that true? Arduino day. Google is behind the times. Yum, cookies. Yeah, it sure is. March 27th. Huh. That's awesome. Hey, thanks for sharing that. Who said that? Johnny. Thanks for the heads up. I had no idea. Huh. Arduino's cool. I mean, I am firmly on the CircuitPython side of things. Like, the Arduino IDE is a lot easier to use than the tools that came before it. But not nearly as easy to use as CircuitPython. So I tend to go pretty hard on the CircuitPython side, but I definitely have a lot of respect for Arduino, and I have a lot of interest in where the kinds of stuff they're working on, right? Because I think Arduino, we can take inspiration from them. Like, a lot of the things that were good ideas for them are going to be good ideas for us as well, because we have a similar kind of target audience. Okay, for all files in Git, oh yeah, git add dot, git commit am. Huh. Hugo, you are always good with the git commands. I've learned a few other git commands from you before as well. Git commit am. Yeah, I didn't know about that one either. I'll probably use that because that cuts it down to only one command. Yeah, I would agree. Arduino definitely lowered the barrier to entry so that, like, anybody, kids, people without programming, people with disabilities, like people without super expensive computers and tools, like all of that stuff became possible because of Arduino. Before that, it was like, you know, you got to have years of experience, you got to have expensive tools, you got to be in tune with super low level code. A is short for add, the M is message. Nice. Okay. What else do I want to work on? I probably will go for another 30 or 40 minutes. What do I think I could get done in 30 or 40 minutes? We got movement working. We got CanWalk working from the map, which is really awesome because I wanted to have this working where we can attach the data inside of our map and then read it out of there. So I'm really stoked that we got that working. What do I want to start doing? Time to make the switch from VS Code. Yeah, if you ask me, definitely. I'm a big PyCharm proponent. I know a lot of folks like VS Code. I have not tried it yet personally, to be honest. It looks pretty cool though. I've seen like screenshots and stuff, and I know lots of folks are always coming through the help channels and stuff talking about it. So it must be pretty good. But I've just learned all the stuff that's in, well, that's not even close to true actually. I don't know anywhere near all the stuff that's in PyCharm. I've learned all the stuff that I use on a regular basis in PyCharm, and I tend to be objects in motion stay in motion. So like I tend to not want to go back and learn a new program. Like I'm kind of the same way with GIMP. I've learned how to use GIMP. I have access to Photoshop, but I don't know how to do anything in it, and I know how to do everything in GIMP, and so like it's not as good. It can't do as many things, but all the things I need to do I can do, and I always struggle with learning new softwares. So let's start to refactor this some. I've got all of this just sitting in my CodePy, but I should really be starting to make this into an object, I think. So do I want to edit that live on the device or start editing in PyCharm in my repo? Let's keep going on the device, I think. I'm going to make a new file for it, and we'll import it, and this is going to be what? This is going to be a tiled game map? Or a tiled game? Is it going to hold anything that's not part of the map? Data grip, what is that one? I'm always on the lookout for interesting types of inputs. So if you guys know of weird keyboards and stuff, send them my way. Oh, this is not a keyboard though. Data grip. This is a this is JetBrains SQL or database tool, I guess. That's one of the things I don't have a lot of experience with. I know PyCharm has a bunch of tools built in for working with databases, but I've not even scratched the surface with them. I think I took a look once, but never dove in any farther. let's see. Let's go. Let's start with map. Let's make it more focused instead of less. And if it turns out we want to attach things that aren't related to the map to it, then we'll generify it some and turn it into a game object. So let's call this tiled game map and class tiled. Sorry, there's going to be a fair amount of typing now, so it's probably going to get a little loud. Tiled game map. Does it extend anything? Should we extend group? Nice. Do we want to extend group? And then you would just call show on the map? Yeah, I think so. JetBrains tools do Linux. Yeah, I'm on Linux and I use JetBrains, PyCharm, and Android Studio. I haven't used the database one. I would assume it works the same, but this is display.io group. Import display.io. We could do just group from. I guess we're gonna need tile grid also. What do we have in code? Just display.io. We should break it out though. We should do only the things we need. So let's get group, let's get tile grid. Bitmap, maybe? We'll work on that one in a minute. So we extend group. Init function. We want to call super. I don't know if that's the right syntax. I usually end up looking back at other libraries because I'm still fairly new, truthfully, to Python object-oriented stuff. I don't have a lot of experience like just writing stuff from scratch like this. So this extends label base. Yeah, super parentheses init arguments. Arguments. Max size would be the only one, which we want to set it to. Here we're just doing 10, so we could do the same, but we could potentially. Reason for the dual reboots? Oh, it's saving extra files. Exclamation point, or I mean with underscores in the name. I see. No ARM support. That'd be pretty cool if Raspberry Pis could run like PyCharm Community Edition. I mean, like Raspberry Pi 4 is probably the one. I mean, PyCharm is kind of bloated, so you would want the fastest one, I bet, for it to run very smoothly. Do we want to just use 10 or do we want to count? So we have a sprite tile grid, we have a castle tile grid, we have an entities tile grid. Those are the three things we're adding. Let's just go with that for now. I think actually the default might be 4. So theoretically we could just leave that out. Is it better to be explicit though? I'm going to leave it out because honestly max size is going to be getting removed anyway. So that's going to call group initializer for us. So the other thing we want to do in init is read the JSON file. So we actually need to accept the map JSON file as a parameter. and then do this. We need a JSON. I don't know why. I must not have Blinka Display IO installed. Oh, right. This is in TO. pip install Adafruit Blinka Display IO. There we go. No, this is still red, but oh no, it just wasn't updated yet. There we go. Okay. I should have been getting that from the stubs. Did I break my stubs also? I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter that much. We can put this on self.mapObject. Do we want it to be private? No, we can make it public. Yeah, user code can grab the map object. That's fine. So that's going to load it. What else do we want to put inside this class? This function can go inside. I think what I'm going to do is just cut stuff out of here instead of cutting. And then eventually I'll make a new CodePy that uses this class. Okay, we don't want that inside of a init though. There we go. So is tile movable? Still accepts the tile chords. The map object though is on self now. Oh, we need to accept self. So we can just update all of these. And tile properties, we will make that a self variable also. We'll initialize that inside the initializer here. Self.tile properties. And find the next one. There we go. Replace. Self.tile properties. Yeah, thanks for stopping by, Keith. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Why are ._ files created and how to avoid them? Although that is on Apple Stack Exchange, so hopefully that means that that's not a problem for me. That doesn't help anybody using a Mac, but PyCharm is kind of bloated. Yep. Yeah. Running out of memory on 48 gigs of RAM. I've got 32, but I'm going to be bumping up to 64 eventually. Oh, PyCharm does run on the Raspberry Pi 4. So this was A? Interesting. No JDK found. Yeah, that looks familiar. I had to do that at some point. Or maybe I'm thinking Android Studio. System volume information is a Windows problem. Okay, so we're loading this into self.tile properties. So down here we would use self.tile properties. Do we want tile properties to be public? Yeah, I think so. I mean, I guess we could make actual properties like explicit property functions. That's probably what we should do, actually, because we don't want them to be writable. Both the map object and the tile properties, honestly. We don't want the user code to just be like, you know, map.mapObject equals whatever. So let's do these with underscores, and then let's add properties. At property def map object, return that. So then we have a getter property, but we have no setter property. That way the user cannot set it to something else, but they can still access it. Okay. Using the Community Edition, you'll need to compile some code and update files. Nice. Yeah, that would be cool to run it on a Raspberry Pi. Alright. So this is looking pretty good so far. Let's see what other stuff we would want to put inside of the map object. So the sprite... Sprite sheet. Yeah, this is the sprite sheet, not the sprite. We do need that inside. We also need to select the sprite sheet correctly somehow. So we got to import image load. Which I don't have installed. Doesn't really matter that I don't have it installed, but this will make it not be read in here, which is nice. We need bitmap and palette from display.io. Although, why are we passing... Did I mess that up? Why are we passing the bitmap object and the palette object? Or like the initializer function, I guess, is what we're passing here. Interesting. I don't know if we were supposed to have an instance or not before we do that. I mean, the code's working, so I guess not. We will make these on self. We will figure out how to select the right sprite sheet. Does it say inside here? It does. So it's under tile sets, image. So we will go image is map object tile sets. I'm just gonna hard code it to 0 since we're only using one. Eventually maybe we would rewrite this code to be able to use multiples. Image. And that should have been the same in GoodMap 1 and GoodMap 0 also. Tile sets, image, yes. Okay. So now we're loading that out of the map. Pretty soon I think we want to write a CodePy that uses this so we can actually start testing it. See if there's anything else we need though. Yeah, we want these tile grids. and I am going to put them on self, and I'm also going to not call it castle. I'm going to call it background tile grid. Self.spritesheet, self.palette. That looks good. Entity tile grid. Self.palette. Okay. We have groups for all of these. Do we really want groups for all of these? I mean, I don't see much upside. If we wanted to use scale, like if the entities were going to be scale 2 and the castle was going to be scale 1, then we want to have a separate group. But everything's going to be scale 1, and everything can just go inside of the self instance group that we are extending. So we don't need to make 3 groups. We can just add all of these. I mean, it would be like if we were adding them directly to main group. Why did I do it this way? I think it probably got done this way because I copied the sample code originally, and the sample code, I think, scales one of the things. It scales the entities or the castle or something. Nice. Jose linked us a how to get PyCharm running on the Raspberry Pi. Okay, let's do that. Self.append, self. Let's put this underscore, and we want the background first. Background. Entity. Sprite. Do I want to put the sprite inside of this object? Yes, I think I do. I am a little hesitant because this object is called tiled game map, and there's nothing inside of this map file that represents the sprite at all, other than like its tile definition is in here. So I could see the argument for keeping track of the sprite outside of this object, but I'm also not strictly trying to keep it to this object only containing things in the map. Really what I want is for this object to make it easy for people to make games. So I think I want the sprite inside of it so that it's all together, so the user doesn't have to make their own sprite and manage all of it and all of that stuff. Okay. So I need a tile grid for the sprite. Sprite group. Sprite group. Sprite. Do I have this already? No. I have sprite sheet. Background tile grid, entity tile grid. these yellow? Doesn't like the format. Should be consistent with the name. Okay, this is loading the castle. Well, yeah, this is loading the background. This is loading the first layer. This is loading the second layer. And it's putting the appropriate things into the castle tile grid, which we called background tile grid, and the entities tile grid. So we do want to do this stuff. Do we want to put this inside of a init? Do we want to make a function for this? I feel like maybe we want to make a function for this, but it will be a private function. Load tile grids. Okay. So map object is self.mapObject. Castle is self.background tile grid. Map object entities is self.entity tile grid. So we could call then from here load tile grids. Self-load tile grids? Is it going to be mad that it's not defined before init? I don't remember if Python does function hoisting. That's what JavaScript calls it. I don't know if it's called the same thing in every language. But like, does it let me call a function that's declared after the place where I'm calling it from? If anybody knows, let me know. Otherwise, we'll find out when we try it. What else is here? Unity's 4.3 is 15. That might have been... That might have been left over from... Is this getting executed? Yeah, I mean, we're in CodePy. This might have been left over from when we were troubleshooting on the first day when we worked on this a few weeks back. This would be setting something to 15, which should be the bottom right corner, but I don't see that showing up on our map. And I'm not sure why that's not showing up on our map. I don't think we want it to be there inside our object, but it seems like it would have changed it to be the bottom right corner. There's no problem with it. Awesome, thank you. Python will go through the build namespace dictionary. Thank you, Jose. Yeah, we don't want this. The sprite location, where should we start the player? Maybe that should come from the map. Maybe we should put Blinka on the map where we want the player to start in the entities layer. That's probably the right solution, I think. So then while we're loading the tile grids, while we're loading the entities layer, if we find Blinka, which is 1, then we can save it into the player location. Yeah. So let's go self dot player lock. And I think we should just maybe default it to 1-1. That way it's inside the map walls. Depends on the map though, so it's not always going to work out okay, but let's do it like that. And then when we are in here, if tile index is 1, I guess we wouldn't know. We wouldn't always know that index 1 is supposed to be the player. I think what we would want actually is to do this. Like edit this tile, make a property, and make it player true. And then see what comes out when we save it. So yeah, it does have player value. I think that's what we would want to do, but I also think probably going to wrap up before there's enough time to write all of that logic. So how about if we try to plow forward a little bit further and see if we can just use, let's just hard code the player for now. So let's start them at 1-1, load the tile grids, set the player's location, and this is sprite tile grid. And this is self.player lock. So that'll put the player at 1-1. And then we have this loop. Okay. So we got a good start on this object. I'm going to save this. We're going to try to write a CodePy that uses it. So let's rename this one. Tile game very uninspired with my name sometimes. I'm just going to go tiled game code 0. We'll make a new CodePy, and before I write this, actually I got to take one quick break, so I'm going to come back in just 1 minute and I'll finish this up. Oops. Alright, now we're actually back. Sorry. What all did I say? No elevator music. Yeah, so it's I could get, if there was public domain music, I could use that maybe, but I don't want to run into trouble with copyright, so I don't mess with it. Hopefully the sound is back now. I think it is because I'm unmuted. Let's try to whip up this CodePy. Okay, you can hear me now. Great search. Could go great search music. I think that's probably stuck in people's heads enough, maybe. What all do we need? Do we need all of this? I don't know. Let's keep going. This is inside of the game object. This is inside of the game object. This is all inside. This we need. We're not going to need image load. We're not going to need label. I don't think we were using label anyway. Don't think JSON. Display IO, maybe. Yeah, we'll make a main group. We could just call display.show the game, since it does extend group. I think I'll make a main group though, and I'll add my game to the main group. That way, if we wanted to come back and make like a HUD group to go on top, we could still do that. Yeah. It's a good jingle. It's definitely catchy. Get stuck in there for sure. Let's do that. We can show it. This is inside. Oh, we are gonna need to do this. I don't think I ever did that. That transparent, because this is showing me transparent inside of tiled, but on the actual file it's green or pink or something. Green. So we need that. Those are inside, those are inside. Loading, that's inside. That's inside. This is the stuff we will need. And of course we will need to make the game map object. So my game, maybe tiled game map. Good map 2. Do need to import this. And now this will be my game dot. And this too. And then these also. This is on the object now. My game dot is tile movable. We should probably not create a whole new dictionary every time, should we? We should probably make this 2 statements. This way it's not going to make and destroy a dictionary every time. We really only need to do this if the player moved. Honestly, this logic might end up moving inside of the game object one of these days, but I'm curious just to see if this will work. So this is sprite tile grid. So sprite tile grid is private. I put an underscore in front of it. I don't think we want to do this. We want to just do this. We want to say yeah. Should have a better name, maybe render player. I don't know. I'm going to leave it for now. And inside of here it should be doing this. Okay. So that will move it to the right location. Okay. That might be it. So that is awesome, because now we have way less code in the CodePy, because a lot of it's getting handled by the object. So let's save this. Let's get the camera ready. Let me catch up on the chat. DMCA. Oh, nice. Hugo linked me to some DMCA music. DMCA free or whatever. So, like, I'm allowed to use it. So that's awesome. Thank you for that. I'll take a look through there. I'll have to figure out how to pipe in audio to OBS, too. I don't really know. I know how to go through the microphone or through the computer audio. But I don't know about, like, just play a file and make it go into there. Nice. There's another one here for Z and XY. My game.player lock. Interesting. That would shorten these two lines. I think, though, I think I will confuse myself with that when I get back to it, that for loop for Z and XY. I think I understand what it's doing, but with it not calling out X and Y explicitly, and with it adding Z into the mix, I think I might throw myself off if I do it that way. OBS has an audio source, maybe. Yeah, I can do that with width and height also. I like being explicit, I think, with those. If I had like, you know, I don't know, half a dozen or a dozen different properties or something, I might be more inclined to come up with a loop to do it that way. But with just two for X and Y and width and height, I think in my mind the clarity of it having them written out helps me understand the code better. This is not running because it's in REPL, so let's go, TO here. Yeah, I like the idea though. Definitely thank you for throwing stuff out. Okay, so this says, so we have sprite sheet new, but not sprite sheet. So was I calling sprite, what was I calling before? This was calling new. Interesting. So this needs to be new. So somehow I could change it in here. Truth be told though, I don't know how. I could create a new tile set, which would let me set the bitmap, which would work, but then I would lose all my properties. I think I'm going to cheat and just set this in the JSON file and hope that that doesn't break anything. I would probably need to reload tiled for it to pick up those changes. I think that thing is honestly pretty much the same. Maybe I added the bottom row to it. Okay. It didn't crash. It didn't show anything. That's because I created the game, but I never put it in the main group. Main group dot append my game. Nice. There we go. And does movement work? Down? No. Tile game map has no attribute self. That, let's see. Got an extra self on there. Nice. Okay, it's not letting me walk on Adabot. It's not letting me walk up. It's not letting me walk into the wall over there. And it's not letting me walk into Ohm. So I think we are good to go here. This is now working the same way it was, but most of the map code has now been refactored into that object, and the user code is now pretty much just like make the map, show it, and then handle the buttons. So that's awesome. That is pretty much where I wanted to get to today, so I think I'm going to call it quits for now. Thank you to everybody who hung out. Hugo, Jose, Johnny, James, I think, Le Samurai, Porpay. Keith was here but left a little while ago. Skur maybe, K-Match for a little bit. Indico. Years ago I added Creative Commons music to a YouTube video, and later the website that hosted the music, they added their entire catalog to Google and it got demonetized. Yeah. One thing I don't care too much, truthfully, about YouTube monetization. I don't have monetization turned on in there. Hopefully you guys aren't seeing ads on my videos. I know maybe YouTube puts them in there anyway. But I don't. I've tried to disable that anywhere I can. So if you are seeing that, and if you think it's possible for me to turn it off further, definitely let me know. I'm relatively new to YouTube. But that is something to worry about, is like, even if you go find music that you are allowed to use, like at the end of the day, the YouTube system is all automated and stuff, and it's not very smart. So like, if your thing gets flagged anyway, you might have a bunch of problems to deal with, and at the end of the day it becomes like, do you want to put the time and effort in to deal with it even if you're technically in the right? And sometimes it's not worth it, but I don't know. It's a conversation for a different day though. Anyway, thank you all for hanging out. Yeah, thank you for everyone who dropped ideas in the chat to help me out along the way, and yeah, I will be back next week, same time. So Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Central, and I'll see you all then. Till then, have a nice day.